Now this is the account of how Eridu on earth was established, how the count of 7 days was begun. In silence did Alalu Ea embrace. With tears of joy his eyes were filled. Before him Ea bowed his head. Respect for his father by marriage he was showing. In the marshes the heroes were advancing. More donned fishes' suits. More toward the dry land were rushing. Keep the chariot afloat, Anzu was commanding. In the waters anchor it, the mud ahead avoiding. Ashore stepped the heroes. Before Alalu they were bowing. Ashore came Anzu, the last, the chariot to depart. Before Alalu he bowed. With him Alalu in welcome locked arms. To all who had arrived, Alalu words of welcome spoke. To all who were assembled, Ea words of command spoke. Here on earth I am the commander, he was saying. On a life or death mission we have come. In our hands is Nibiru's fate. He looked about for a place for encampment. He was searching. Heap up soil, mounds fashioned there, Ea gave command, an encampment to set up. To a place not afar he was pointing, a reed hut abode by Alalu erected. To Anzu then words he directed, to Nibiru words by beaming deliver. To the king, my father, Anu, successful arrival announce. Soon the hue of the skies was changing, from brightness to reddish it was turning. A sight never seen before their eyes was unfolding. The sun, as a red ball, on the horizon was disappearing. Fear seized the heroes, of a great calamity afraid they were. Alalu with laughter, words of comfort was saying, a setting of the sun it is. The ending of one day on earth it is marking. For a quick rest lie down. A night on earth is beyond imagining short. Before you expect, the sun will an appearance make. On earth it will be morning. Before expecting, darkness came. The heavens from the earth it separated. Lightnings the darkness pierced. Rains the thunders followed. By winds were the waters blown. Storms of an alien god they were. In the chariot the heroes hunkered down. In the chariot the heroes huddled. Resting to them did not come. They were greatly agitated. With quickened hearts the sun's return they awaited. Smiling when its rays appeared, they were joyful and backslapping. And it was evening, and it was morning. Their first day on earth it was. By daybreak, Ea the ongoings considered. To separate waters from waters, heed he was giving. Ingur he made of the sweet waters the master, drinking waters to provide. To the snake pond with Alalu he went, its sweet waters to consider. Evil serpents in the pond were swarming, so did Ingur to Ea say. The marshlands Ea then contemplated. The abundance of its rainwaters he weighed. In Belilu he placed in charge of the marshlands. To mark out the thicket of reeds, him he directed. In Kindu, in charge of ditch and dike he placed, a boundary for the marshes to fashion. For the waters that from heaven rain, a gathering place to make. Thus were the waters below from the waters above separated. Marsh waters from sweet waters asunder were set. And it was evening, and it was morning. The second day on earth it was. When the sun morning announced, the heroes their assigned tasks were performing. With Alalu, Ea to the place of grass and trees his steps directed. All that in the orchard grows, herbs and fruits after their kind to examine. To Izimud, his vizier, Ea questions was addressing. What is this plant? What is that plant? Him he was asking. Izimud, one of much learning, food that grows well he could distinguish. He tore a fruit for Ea, a honey plant it is, to Ea he was saying. One fruit he himself ate, one fruit Ea was eating. Of food that grows, by its good distinguished, Ea, the hero, guru put in charge. Thus were the heroes water and food provided. Satiated they were not. And it was evening and it was morning, the third day on earth it was. On the fourth day, the winds ceased blowing. The chariot by waves was not disturbed. Let tools from the chariots be brought. Let abodes in the encampment be built, Ea thus commanded. Kula, in charge of mold and brick, Ea appointed, from the clay bricks to fashion. Mushdamu, to lay foundations he directed, swelling dwelling abodes to erect. All day the sun was shining, the great light by day it was. By evetime, Kingu, Earth's moon, in fullness a pale light on earth it cast, a lesser light to rule the night among the celestial gods accounted to be. And it was evening and it was morning, the fourth day on earth it was. On the fifth day, Ea Ningirsig, a boat of reeds to fashion, commanded, the measure of the marshes to take, the stretch of the swamplands to consider. Olmash, he who what in water swarms knows, who of fowl that fly has understanding. Olmash, as a companion, Ea took, between good and bad to distinguish. Kinds that in the waters swarm, kinds that in the skies give wing, to Olmash many were unknown. Bewildering was their number. Good were the carp, among the bad they were swimming. In Belilu, the marshlands master, Ea summoned. In Kimedu, in charge of ditch and dike, Ea summoned. To them he gave words in the marshlands to make a barrier, with cane brakes and green reeds, an enclosure to fashion, fish from fish there separate. A trap for carp, that form a net could not escape. A place whose snare no bird that is good for food could escape. There were fish and fowl, by their good kinds separated, for the heroes provided. And it was evening and it was morning, the fifth day on earth it was. On the sixth day, Ea of the orchard's creatures took account. Inersag, to the task he assigned, that which creeps and that which on feet walks, to distinguish. Their kinds, Inersag, astounded for the ferocity of their wilderness, to Ea an account he gave. Ea Kola summoned. To Mushdamu urgent commands he gave. By evetime the abodes to be completed, by a fence for protection to be surrounded. The heroes to the task put their shoulders, bricks on the foundations were quickly laid. With reeds were the roofings made, of cut down trees was the fencing put up. Anzu, a beam that kills, from the chariot brought over. A speaker that words beams at Ea's abode he set up. By evetime complete was the encampment. For the night therein the heroes gathered. Ea and Alalu and Anzu the doings considered. All that was done indeed was good. And it was evening and it was morning, the sixth day. On the seventh day the heroes in the encampment were assembled. To them Ea spoke these words. A hazardous journey we have undertaken, From Nibiru to the seventh planet, a dangerous way we traversed. At Earth we with success arrived. Much good we attained. An encampment we established. Let this day be a day of rest. The seventh day hereafter a day of resting always to be. Let this place henceforth by the name Eridu be called. Home in the far away, the meaning thereof will be. Let a promise be kept. Let Alalu of Eridu, the commander, be declared. The heroes thus assembled, in unison agreement shouted. Words of consent Alalu uttered, then homage to Ea he greatly paid. Let Ea a second name be given. Nudimud, the artful fashioner, let him now be called. In unison, the heroes' agreement announced, and it was evening, and it was morning, the seventh day. This is the earliest account for the 7-day creation, and this is the actual true explanation. As you may have read, or if you were brought up in the church, there's some similarities to this. What you just heard predates the biblical account by thousands of years. Which one do you believe?